Hello and welcome back to Middle Age Moto. So I have had suspension talks in the past, and I had mentioned on my Monster 1200S with the old suspension, I felt based on my weight and everything, the suspension came set very light and was actually rather squirrely. And I've actually been on, those forums, some of the groups on Facebook, and a guy posted and mentioned that he was having trouble with it just feeling squirrely. Was wondering if a steering dampener would help. When you're free weighting that front, you're putting all your weight on the rear. It just lightens up that front end, and it definitely makes the bike very uncomfortable. And by tightening up the suspension, it changed that dynamics. And then I mentioned that when I got this bike, the suspension felt great, but unfortunately I think I'm going to have to do some tweaking with it. I put a zip tie on the front fork to just try to get a feeling. I've never really physically felt it bottom out, so I wasn't really concerned with that. But you can see it in my thumbnail. It's really, it's at the way bottom end of the shock after riding. Now, I tightened it up a little bit. I pushed it back up today, so we'll see where it falls. So the thumbnail is based on today's ride, not the last ride. So we'll see where it falls. And I may need to tighten it up, but unfortunately, I really like the way it rides. It's very smooth, doesn't beat me up. So I may put a couple clicks in it in the dampening or the compression, and just tighten it up just a tad, just so I'm working in that sweet spot. I haven't measured anything and done the normal suspension setup on this bike. The rear feels fine. I may put a turn or two into that too, just because if the front's light, the rear's probably light. And looking at the adjusters, they're all not in the same spot. So I think the suspension is not consistent side to side. So what I'm going to do is adjust that out, and then I'll report back, what I think once I get it adjusted. I've always been, I just got whacked right in the face with a huge bug. It's like rang out. I've always been the type that, you get used to anything, or most people are this type, I think, and then once you adjust it, you're like, holy crap. Because if my Monster wasn't squirrely like it was, I probably would have left everything alone, because I've never really done much tweaking with suspension until that bike. But I never realized how much it can make a difference. So I'm going to get this adjusted up, and then I will report back on my findings, and we'll see what we can do. So with that, thank you so much. And if anyone has any input and have adjusted, or this is the non-S version, so I have the Showa front suspension and Sachs rear. So if anyone's done any adjusting or tweaking or anything of that nature, throw it in the comments and let me know what's your advice. In the owner's manual for my Monster, it had like sport, 2-up, and then regular, comfort. And it told you how many clicks in the whole 9 yards. With this bike, I haven't noticed anything in there as far as getting the suspension dialed in. So I'm not really sure, how many clicks. I'm going to have to do it by feel, which I ended up doing it by feel because sport was too tight for me for the Alabama roads, so I ended up loosening it up. But okay, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.